Hello and welcome to another project development tutorial. In the last tutorial we looked at how to go about building the site layout, and we go and created a folder for our style sheets, and we created a folder for our pages. So here in my CSS folder I have my style, and in my pages folder I only have the master layout, which I'm going to share with you in just a second here. This is how the master layout looks like. That it has the page title region, it has within the body a header, a section which will going to be filled with contents, and a footer. One more thing that I did is I already established this link with my style sheet. So as I told you last time, the first two dots are used to go one step up in the folder structure. As you can see in the folder structure, let me keep both of these windows open so that you can see. Right now we are in pages, so we need to go one step up so that we are in the common folder, which is the project. And then from project, which is the parent to both pages and CSS folder, we're now going into CSS folder, and in the CSS folder here we have styles.css. So this is where the styles for the site will going to be. Now, just for the sake of this example, I decided to create a website on the state of Wisconsin, and to gather information I just went to Wikipedia and grab some information and put into a text file, just so that I can share with you how you can be collecting the content and then using that content in your pages. So this is a content collection activity that I did. So as I was planning on creating 3 pages, one of the page was history, the other page is geography, and the last page is sports. So I went to the Wikipedia page for the state of Wisconsin, and I grabbed a few paragraphs from each one of these criteria, not the whole information, just for the sake of this example, just so that you can see when you build your site you should actually have the content collected, and then you can easily transform that content. And once your pages are created, using style sheet you can manage those pages very, very easily. So not this week, but probably in a week or two we're going to be learning about site navigation. So we'll be able to add navigation to this site, and then you'll be able to navigate back and forth between the pages. But today we're not going to be doing that. So for now what we're going to be doing is we'll take this template that we have, master.htm, and we're going to save it as history.htm, we're going to save it as geography.htm, and then we're going to be saving it as sports.htm. So let's do that real quick. So this is my master.htm. Let me save this page as history.htm. Let me then save it as geography.htm, and then I'm saving it as sports.htm. So just make sure that in the save as type hypertext markup language is selected. So now once I've saved all 3 files, I can open all 3 of them. I can just simply click File, Open, and this gives me all the files. I can press and hold the Control key and select the files if they're not in order. Like here, I want sports is already open. I want to be able to open the geography, and I want to be able to open history. So I can click geography, press and hold Control and click history, or press and hold Shift because they're both right next to each other, and simply click open. All 3 files going to open up here. So sports.html, geography.html, and history.html. So here we have each one of these files, and I also have styles. I can move things around, as you can see, by grabbing it from the tab up here, and it allows me to move things. So I've kept all my pages like this, and I can change their order the way my content is, so that doesn't really make a lot of difference. So now let me go about bringing the content from this content page holder. So I have my site called the state of Wisconsin. So I'm going to grab the state of Wisconsin. Now I'm going to put this in site title. So state of Wisconsin. and I'm going to go to each one of these pages, and I'm going to be making that change. Site title change to state of Wisconsin, site title change to state of Wisconsin. So all 3 pages are like this. Now I could have very well done this right in my master page or before I started copying, because that was common across the board. What's different is the page title. So whatever I'm going to be putting in the page title over here will going to be the same thing that's going to go in the title. So for my first page, it's history. Now this title, as you can see, it's a sentence case. It does not have to match the name of the file. As you can see, the name of the file is all lowercase, so you don't have to have the title matching the file name, or the title matching the title that you are deciding to give right in your page. So you don't have to have them matching. Similarly over here, this is my geography page. And this is my sports page. So after I've created these 3 distinct pages, now it's time to bring in the information from this content holder. So we're going to start with history because that's the first one I have. Let me see how many paragraphs I have. I have 1 and 2 paragraphs. So I'm going to be creating 2 paragraph opening and closing tags right within the section, and then I'm going to copy paste that content right here. So in the view tab, if the word wrap is open, then you will notice that it would automatically wraps. If that under view, if word wrap option is closed, then it probably may not wrap things for you. So that's why I always keep that word wrap option open. Let me grab 1 paragraph at a time and place it in the respective files. So here I have copied and pasted a couple of paragraphs from my notepad into my HTML document. Similarly, I'm going to be doing the same for the other 2 files. In the geography, there are 2 paragraphs as well. So I have 1 paragraph here, and I'm going to add another paragraph. And I'm going to be putting my contents right over here. So for the first paragraph in geography, I'm going to be putting the content, and then now in the second paragraph. So I'm simply going to my notepad, and I'm taking this paragraph, I'm copying it, and I'm pasting it within the P tag right here. And we're going to be doing the same for sports.html. It also has 2 paragraphs. So here's the first paragraph, and here's my second paragraph. So I pretty much copied and pasted the contents. That's all I did because my other file had all the contents. So this basically was the original document I had, which I told you earlier on. I got these paragraphs from Wikipedia. And let me close this. I don't need that anymore. And here are my pages. So let's try to run these pages one by one. So here is my first page, which is sports. And then I'll simply run the other 2 pages as well, one by one. Here's my geography page. And the third page is my history page. So here I have. So history page, geography page, sports page. So this is basically the sequence. History, geography, sports. Now later on, as we start adding the navigation, you're going to get to see how these other things actually come along. Now we will going to be adding some CSS properties, and as we start adding the CSS properties, you can see that how this web page will going to now transform and look different. Since all 3 pages are linked to the same style sheet, as you can see over here, in sports, in geography, in history, they're all linked to the same style sheet. So any changes made here will going to be reflective in all of them. So let's try to give some properties to the H1 tag in all 3 of the pages. So we're going to write a property on H1. We'll say, okay, H1, we would like you to have a text align off center. Okay, so now I've just added 1 line here. And as I refresh my pages, here you can see that they're center aligned in history. Let me refresh my geography, center aligned in geography. Refresh my sports, center aligned in sports. So all 3 pages will going to take the effect. Now that's the beauty of an external CSS, that you make changes in one place and it's reflective in all places. All places. So likewise, I can list the same property on multiple tags. So let's say if I want the page title and the site title to be both center aligned, so since that's a shared property, I can put a comma and list the second one. So now I want both of these tags to have this property. So let me show you how it looks like. This is how it was before, and this is how it looks now. So as you can see, they both have the same set of implementations. So anytime you want certain tags to have common properties, you can simply list the tags, separating them by commas, and then you can list all the shared properties there. Similarly, if I want them to have same color, I can do that as well. So color : blue will allow them to have the same color blue. And once again, we'll just do in one of the 3 pages, and you can see that they've turned blue. Similarly, over here towards the bottom, I have this footer. So I can say, well, I want my footer to be text align right. And I want my footer to also be of blue color. So since the text align properties do not go along too well, that's why we are separating the footer from the H1 and H2, even though there are certain properties that are same, but not all properties are same. So now let's have a look at the output here. Okay, so as you can see, it is towards the right, and it's in blue color. So now if I want my footer to be in italics, I can say, well, I want my footer to have a font style of italic. So now when I refresh my output, you can see that it's now in italic. And it's in all 3 pages will going to be that way. So it's not in 1 page. In all 3 pages will going to be the same output. Okay. Now let's real quick learn about the coloring that is available to us in HTML or CSS. There are 3 different ways that you can be giving colors. One is by name, and one is by hexadecimal notation. So let's say if I want to change the colors, let's first understand how the hexadecimal colors work. So I'm putting some comments in CSS just to show you that how the colors work if they are not named colors. Otherwise, they're named colors like blue, green, red, white, black, gray, silver, olive, gold. These are all named colors. But then you also need to have some colors that probably don't have names to them but can be used in a website. Plus, you have to also check that there are so many different websites about web-safe colors, so that those colors will going to appear the same on all the browsers and all the operating systems. So when you are doing a hexadecimal, first of all, you need to understand hexadecimal means 16. So it has 16 different representations, 0 through 9, and then A through F. So these are the different 16 digits that are used in hexadecimal. So the colors that are given are in the combination of red, green, and blue. That's called the Rgb coloring scheme. In Rgb coloring scheme, what you do is for each color there are 2 letters or numbers or placeholders. So if I want the red, pure red color, I will gonna have my red turn on, so that's F's. I want my other 2 colors be turned off. That's pure red color, so that's pure red. Similarly, if I want to have pure green color, I'm going to turn off the red and the blue, and I'm only going to have the green turn on. So that's pure green. Similarly, I can have pure blue, by turning on only the blue and turning off all others. If I have them all turned off, then that's a dark color, so that's a black. If I have them all turned on, that's a white color. And if I have them in any combination, which is the same combination for all three colors, then it's a shade of gray. If it's closer to white, it's a lighter shade of gray. If it is closer to black, then it is a darker shade of gray. And all hexadecimal numbers must be preceded by a pound sign. So this is basically the syntax of doing, and you can find so many sources out there on the internet. If you Google and look for web safe colors or hexadecimal for web safe colors, you can find all sorts of code. So we're going to try to use, instead of blue, the pure blue color, that is hexadecimal 00 for red, which is the first 2 bits, 00 for green, which is the next 2 bits, and FF for blue, which is the last 2 bits. So after doing this, let me come down here. Okay, always make sure that your files are saved, and this is an indicator that the floppy disk symbol will be blue if they are saved, and simply refresh it. And when you refresh it, you don't see any difference because it's the same color. Just so that you can see the difference, let me change the colors around a little bit. Okay, so notice the footer is still blue here, okay, because I changed the color for the footer to 00FF00. Now let me refresh the footer, and now you can see it's green. Down below, it's green. Bright green color. So this is how you can pretty much go about controlling the look and feel. So that's another approach towards changing the colors. So now let's come down to paragraph. Paragraph. And let's say if I want to give a color to a paragraph, so I've learned 2 different ways of giving color. Let's learn the third way of giving the color, which is done with the help of an RGB function. RGB, red, green, blue. So that means it requires you to put 3 values. So this I have 2 commas to separate. Now when you're giving values like this, if you want to have pure red, instead of FF, you use 255. So in RGB, FF0000 was actually for pure red. You will basically use RGB 25500. So that's an RGB equivalent of red. Similarly, for green, you're going to say, okay, I want to turn off the red. I'm going to turn on the green. Okay. Likewise, you're going to turn on the blue by turning all others off. So this is how you go about doing it for blue. And here you can see the RGB combinations for black and white, and for gray you can mix them in different combinations. So here we'll use this approach. So RGB, red, green, blue. I want these 3 colors. I want it to be blue, so I'm going to use 0 for red, 0 for green, and I'll use 255 for blue. Now after making that change, let's refresh, and here you go. All the paragraphs are in blue. It doesn't matter which page you are on, all the paragraphs will going to be in blue color. Now if I want my paragraphs to have some indentation, I can come down to the paragraph and say, well, I want every paragraph to have text indentation. Now text indentation is actually controlled with the help of numbers, and those numbers can have units. So the possible units that we can use are, we can use pixels, we can use points, where a point is a 1/72nd of an inch. We can use inch, we can use centimeters, we can use millimeters. These are some of the units that could be used. Or we can use picas, where 12 picas actually make up an inch. So there are 72 points in 1 inch. And in a lot of the desktop publishing applications like Microsoft Word, you're going to see that it uses points. So just to show you, I've just brought in front of you the Microsoft Word environment. And here you can see in the drop-down box that all these numbers are there. And notice, according to the desktop publishing, we go a maximum of 72 points, which is 1 inch. But if you notice all of these higher numbers, like this is 3/4 of an inch, this is 1/2 of an inch, and this is 1/4 of an inch, this is 1/6 of an inch. So by default we use 1/6 of an inch, which is 12 points or 1 pica to be the standard default size. And that's exactly what we have as a standard default font size in HTML is 12 points. So here in the text indentation I can say, well, I want my text to be indented 1/4 of an inch. So 18 points. That means 1/4 inch. So now, or I can use, actually I can literally say 0.25 of an inch. Either way, we're going to work just fine. And all these units are called absolute unit because whatever their size is, we're going to be the fixed size. It's not a relative unit. So here, as I refresh and notice all my paragraphs are indented. It doesn't matter which page I go, all my paragraphs are now indented. So that's another thing that you can do. And as you can see, that's the beauty of doing CSS, is that you can be controlling the entire look and feel of a site just by making some very slight changes. Or if I want to write properties specifically for a tag, let's say I want my H1 to be in uppercase, so I can write a property just for H1. If I want my H2 to be in small caps, I can just write a property for H2. So I have all these choices. So if I want my all heading ones to be in uppercase, I can be using the property text transform, and the properties value will going to be uppercase. So as a result, it will going to appear in all uppercase. Now, what is small caps? And small caps pretty much means that if you have something written like this, history. Okay. So when I apply small caps, everything will going to be converted into an uppercase. But the size of ISTORY, since they were originally lowercase, will going to be smaller in size as opposed to the letter H, which was originally an uppercase. So in order to apply small caps, we use font variant property with a value of small caps. And as you can see, the value is multi-word. That's why it's hyphenated. So now after these changes, let's look at the output here. And as you can see that this is the small caps, and this is full uppercase. So here is the output that was before the change, and here's the output after the change. Here's the output after the change. So with bare minimum changes, you can make so much of a difference to your output. It's enormous. So I'm going to add some more of these steps in another tutorial. And then you can go over that one with some more changes to this example and apply this on your project. Thank you for watching.